Listen. If she's pulling back, acting distant, or suddenly seems cold, your first thought is probably that she's losing interest, that she's found someone else, that you did something wrong. But what if I told you the opposite might be true? What if the reason she's creating space isn't because she doesn't care, but because she cares too much? And here's where it gets crazy. There's one specific behavior that 90% of men think means she's done with them, but it's actually the clearest sign she's falling hard. I'll reveal what that is in just a moment. But first, you need to understand why your brain is programmed to misread her signals completely. Because when a woman falls hard, she doesn't always fall forward. Sometimes she falls back. And if you misread that signal, you'll push her away when she's actually trying to pull herself together. I'm going to show you exactly how to read the signs that separate genuine disinterest from emotional overwhelm. And I'll share the one thing you should never do when she starts acting distant, because if you do it even once, you'll confirm her worst fears about you. This isn't about wishful thinking. This is about understanding female psychology at a depth most men never reach. If that's something you need, hit subscribe right now and stay with me all the way to the end. Because at the midpoint of this video, I'm going to reveal the scientific reason why women who love you the most often act the coldest. And it has nothing to do with what you think. Let's get into it. 1. What happens next? The truth about timing. Before we decode her behavior, you need to hear the truth that holds everything else together. Because without this foundation, nothing else I share will help you. Here's what most men don't understand about women who are overwhelmed by love. They have a timeline in their head, not for commitment, but for safety. She needs to see that you're consistent over weeks, not days. That you don't flip when she's distant. That you don't become needy when she's close. The philosopher Lao Tzu wrote, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." Real emotional trust between two people works exactly the same way. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be forced. It can only be earned, quietly, consistently, through the accumulation of moments where you showed up without panic and stayed without desperation. This isn't about playing games. It's about proving through your actions that you're emotionally stable enough to handle her at her most vulnerable. And here's the beautiful part. When she finally feels safe, when those walls come down, the love she's been fighting becomes the love she finally accepts. The distance shrinks. The coldness melts. And suddenly, she's the one chasing you. But you have to be patient enough to let that happen naturally. Over time, as she sees you're safe, the conflict in her mind resolves itself. Her brain stops seeing love as a threat, and she stops running from the one thing she wants most. That's how you turn her fear into trust. And that's how a woman who's overwhelmed by her feelings finally lets herself fall all the way. Understanding the timeline gives you patience. But patience alone isn't enough. You also need to understand the specific sign she's sending right now. The one that every man misreads. The one that looks like rejection but means the complete opposite. 2. The one sign everyone gets wrong. This will change everything. Here's the sign that proves she loves you too much. And it's going to sound insane. She's meaner to you than anyone else in her life. Not abusive, not disrespectful, but she's more comfortable calling you out, more willing to disagree, more likely to tease you or challenge you. And here's why this matters. When a woman is just casually interested, she stays polite, pleasant, agreeable. She keeps her real personality hidden because she hasn't decided if you're worth the risk yet. But when she's in deep, she starts treating you like you're already hers. She'll roast you. She'll call you on your nonsense. She'll drop the perfect girlfriend act and show you the real her, flaws and all. The psychologist John Gottman, one of the world's leading relationship researchers, wrote, "The goal in marriage is not to think alike, but to think together." When a woman starts challenging you, disagreeing with you, and dropping her performance around you, she is already thinking with you. Not at you, with you. That's not rejection. That's the beginning of something real. Psychologists call this negative intimacy testing. And it only happens when she's emotionally invested. Most men misread this completely. They think she's being rude, being cold, losing interest. But she's actually doing the opposite. She's letting you in. She's testing whether you can handle her at her worst. Whether you'll stick around when she's not on her best behavior. And the man who stays grounded, who doesn't panic, doesn't withdraw, doesn't turn her challenge into a fight, that man passes the test she never announced she was running. Now that you understand the sign that looks wrong but means right, let's look at the 4 specific behaviors that reveal she is completely overwhelmed by what she's feeling for you. 3. Sign 1. She creates distance but watches from afar. She's not texting you first anymore. She's not liking your posts. But here's the tell. She's still viewing your stories within minutes of you posting them. She's still checking your profile when she thinks you won't notice. She's pulled back physically, but she hasn't disconnected emotionally. This creates what psychologists call approach avoidance conflict. She wants you, but wanting you feels dangerous. So she hovers in the middle, close enough to stay connected, far enough to feel safe. The psychologist Leon Festinger, who developed cognitive dissonance theory, wrote, "A man with a conviction is a hard man to change." Her conviction is this: she is drawn to you, but her fear is equally strong. And that internal tension keeps her suspended exactly where you see her now, watching, staying close without getting closer. And here's the test. If you suddenly went quiet for a week, stopped posting, stopped reaching out, she'd be the first one to check in. Because absence creates panic in someone who's already invested. Indifference never creates panic. Only investment does. Distance is her first signal. But there's a second signal that reveals her investment even more clearly, and this one shows up in the moments you least expect it. 4. Sign 2 and Sign 3, emotional overreaction and future talk. The second sign is this. She gets emotional over small things. You cancel plans because of work and her reaction feels way bigger than it should be. You don't text back for a few hours and suddenly she's cold. Here's what you need to understand. That's not pettiness. That's investment. When someone doesn't care, they don't react. But when they're in deep, every little action feels like a test of whether you're still there. She's not overreacting. She's revealing how much power you have over her emotions. And that terrifies her. The psychologist Daniel Goleman wrote, "If your emotional abilities aren't in hand, if you don't have self-awareness, if you are not able to manage your distressing emotions, if you can't have empathy and have effective relationships, then no matter how smart you are not going to get very far." Her emotional reactions are not a character flaw. They are the fingerprint of someone who hasn't yet learned to manage feelings this strong. And feelings this strong only exist because you matter to her this much. The third sign is equally revealing. She talks about the future, then immediately pulls it back. She'll mention something weeks or months away. "We should go there someday." Then immediately follows it with, "I mean, if you're still around or whatever. We'll see." That's fear talking. She's letting herself imagine a future with you, then catching herself and building a wall because hoping feels too risky. And here's the thing most men miss. She only does this if she's already imagining that future constantly. She's just scared to admit how real it feels. 2 signs pointing in the same direction. But the fourth sign, the one I'm about to share, is the most specific, the most unmistakable, and the one that requires you to handle it most carefully. 5. Sign 4. She tells her friends the opposite of how she really feels. This one is wild, and you might not believe it at first. When a woman is casually dating you, she tells her friends everything. She shows them your texts. She asks for advice. She's open about her interest. But when she's falling hard, she goes quiet. She downplays it. She tells them you're just a friend. Nothing serious. Why would she do that? Because the moment she admits to her friends that she's falling for you, it becomes real. And real means vulnerable. Real means she can get hurt. So she protects herself by pretending she doesn't care as much as she does. The philosopher Blaise Pascal wrote, "The heart has its reasons which reason knows nothing of." Her heart already knows. Her friends already sense it. She is the last one in the room to say it out loud, because saying it makes it undeniable. And undeniable means exposed. And here's how you know this is happening. Her friends act strange around you. They watch you more carefully than casual observers would. They're measuring you, because they know something she hasn't told you yet. They're deciding if you're good enough for what she's feeling. If you've noticed this, congratulations. She's in love with you. She's just scared to death to admit it. Now you know the signs. But knowing them creates a new danger. Because the moment most men recognize these signals, they make exactly the wrong move. And it costs them everything. 6. The one mistake that will push her away forever. When you realize she's overwhelmed by her feelings, your instinct is to reassure her. To tell her you feel the same way. To push for commitment. To have the talk. Don't. Here's why. When she's in this state, pressure feels like suffocation. Even well-meaning pressure. She needs to arrive at trust on her own timeline. You cannot force it. You cannot logic her into feeling safe. The more you push, the more her survival instincts kick in, and the faster she retreats. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And mastery in this moment means mastering your own urge to chase, to demand, to seek confirmation. The man who can hold his feelings without needing her to validate them, that man is the safest place she has ever encountered. So, what do you do instead? You give her consistency, without pressure. You don't chase. You don't demand explanations. You don't punish her for pulling back. You stay steady. You show up without smothering her. You let her see that you're not going anywhere, but you're also not desperate. When she pulls back, you give her space, but you don't disappear. You check in occasionally with something light. Something that says, I'm still here. No pressure. And here's the strategy most men never use. Unpredictable positive reinforcement. If she's texting you every few days, you match that rhythm. If she's opening up a little, you open up a little. You pace with her without overwhelming her. This shows emotional intelligence. It shows you understand what she's going through. And it gives her the breathing room to fall without feeling like she's losing control. Because here's the truth that brings everything together. She's not avoiding you because she doesn't care. She's avoiding the intensity of how much she does. And if you can see that, if you can respond with patience instead of panic, you become the safest place she's ever known. That's not just about winning her over. That's about being the kind of man who understands that real love isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's scared. Sometimes it needs space to grow. And the man who gives it that space without disappearing from it is the man she eventually runs toward with everything she's been holding back. I know this is a lot to process. You might be replaying interactions in your mind right now, seeing things differently, understanding what you missed. Good. That means you're actually paying attention. She's not cold because she doesn't care. She's cold because she cares more than she knows how to handle right now. And the man who understands that, who responds with steadiness instead of panic, becomes the man she finally feels safe enough to love out loud. Now I want to hear from you. Have you experienced this, where her distance turned out to be her way of protecting feelings she wasn't ready to show? Or did you panic and push her away before you understood what was really happening? Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one, and I will personally reach out to some of you because your experience matters, and this conversation is worth having honestly. And if this video gave you something real, like it, share it with someone who needs to hear this today, and subscribe if you haven't already because we go deep on exactly these kinds of truths every single week. Because real love isn't always loud. Sometimes it just needs the right man to be patient enough to see it. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. It genuinely means everything to me. I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourself.